Greetings to the brightest audience in the country. Welcome to Real Science Radio. I'm Bob Enyart.
And I'm Fred Williams, creation speaker and software engineer.
Today's program, Real Science Radio's list of brain-dead patients who have recovered.
Brain dead and recovered. Bob, this is going to be a great topic.
These are actual patients, right, in hospitals who have been diagnosed as brain dead, and they've recovered. It's supposed to be impossible.
It is. So this list of real-life examples of people who recovered after being pronounced brain dead shows that doctors in hospitals are sometimes dead wrong.
Yeah, they are. So brain dead, here's the takeaway from today's program. Brain dead means not dead, and so you should not trust that diagnosis.
So the first one we have is from August 2016. 19 days after her car flipped over, the doctors of 22-year-old Sam Hemming were about to give up on her because she was obviously brain dead and quote-unquote with no hope of recovery.
Yes, right. That's obviously, imagine being the parents and your child has had this happen to her. She had just graduated from law school, and I'm no big fan of law school. Yeah. But Fred, you have all the hopes in the world for your daughter, and then this happens after graduation. Yet, moments before she would have likely died because they're about to withdraw her care, she wiggled her toe.
Yeah, and then she made an extraordinary recovery in just a couple weeks.
Yeah, she fought back, and after a few weeks, she was doing well. And then, as God has designed us, many times there's brain damage, and mental and physical exercise, you're able to reprogram the other parts of your brain that are not damaged. Yep. Not that we could do the programming, right? God designed us so that when we attempt to use our body and our mind, our brain, then the brain begins to reprogram itself. So, next case is from the U.S. That was from England. So this is from May of 2015.
That's right. In Des Moines, Iowa, is reported by USA Today. In the Des Moines Register, it's about a 14-year-old girl. Quote-unquote, Taylor's brain sank partway into her spinal canal. No one comes back from that, the doctors told Taylor's mother, Stacy, and her father, Chuck Hale. Nothing more could be done. Their daughter was brain dead.
Oh, this is so tragic. You know, that 22-year-old girl over in England, August 2016, she's brain dead, and then she recovers. You know, she fought back, and she made a tremendous recovery, walking and talking. She still wants to be a lawyer, you said.
Exactly.
Well, maybe Taylor, who's only 14 years old, when the doctors tell her parents nothing more could be done, your daughter is brain dead, maybe that's not the case. But they don't just say she's brain dead and leave it at that. There's something really scary that happens then.
That's right. So they were going to arrange to take her off life support and then discuss organ donation.
That's horrifying.
It is.
Organ donation, because we know, because we're doing the story, because Taylor is number 2 in our list of brain dead patients who recovered. We know that she recovered, but Fred, they were going to harvest her eyes.
Yep.
She would be still alive, and these doctors would be cutting out her eyes.
And then she awoke from her coma.
And that's according to USA Today and the Des Moines Register reporting on this. Wow. I'm so thrilled, obviously, for this family that she awoke, but I thought that was impossible if you're brain dead. They're about to start harvesting your organs. They want her liver. They want her kidneys. Mm-hmm. Who knows what other parts of her body they'd like to use. We've seen all the abortionists around the country who harvest baby body parts after they abort them, and then they sell them for a tremendous amount of money, millions of dollars a year, all those undercover videos that are extraordinary. Well, with these organs, you know, there are regulations against making money on them, but they want these organs so badly, and it's like these pro-abortion doctors, which many are, and pro-euthanasia, They want to show that they have authority over life and death. They want to cut into a living person's body and kill them by harvesting their organs. It's like they have a lust for doing that.
It's so
they
scary.
Want to do it.
Yeah, it's despicable.
Yes.
So, Bob, we said that she awoke from her coma, but what does that mean? I mean, how much did she recover?
Well, just awaking proves that brain dead means not dead.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of me answering that, Fred, why don't we let Taylor Hale answer that?
I don't remember anything before the accident. I don't have any memory of my childhood. And that upsets me because I want to be able to remember my childhood and what I did. And going to the zoo and swimming for the first time, and I have no memory of it. I don't remember waking up from the coma at all. I remember having to relearn how to do everything by myself. Walking for the first time was painful and it hurt. I lost all my friends that I had. None of them talk to me anymore. I don't have a sense of smell anymore. But I can taste. So I guess it's a good thing. I had to work 5 times harder in school than everyone else because I was behind from the days I missed. So that was a struggle, but I kept pushing through it because I wanted to graduate with my class this year, which I am. I'll be going to DMAC for 2 years after I graduate on the 18th. And then I want to study event management and be an event planner, so I'm happy that I can do that. And then something I learned from this whole experience is you never know when life is going to take you or your loved ones, so you need to keep them close to you and spend as much time with them as you can and just keep fighting.
So, wow. Bob, does that sound like a brain-dead person to you?
No. What a beautiful young girl. Yeah. She's, of course, struggling with what's happened to her, but the eternal value and worth that she has as a human being is evident in her last comment there, that you keep your loved ones close.
Yes.
And, of course, the future is not guaranteed to any of us.
So here are the 2 recent news stories that have to do with brain dead not meaning dead.
This concept, right? So they come from sciencealert.com, and the other story is from one of Rupert Murdoch's newspapers, his News Corp. He has The Sun over in England.
So the Science Alert story is an unexplained case of brain activity that has been recorded as much as 10 minutes after death.
Well, this is surprising that this would happen, where this patient was declared dead by all their means of determining that. These are doctors in Canada, Fred. It was at an ICU, an intensive care unit, and they were monitoring patients. It wasn't just this patient, but it was a number of patients, and they wanted to look at brain waves right before death. And so most likely they're turning off their life support system. And then they get to the point where they said there's no more pulse, there's no heart beating, the retinas don't respond to light, so they say this person is dead. The retinas don't respond to light. You know how they open and close the way God designed our eyes. So incredibly brilliant, beyond any camera we have. I mean, they detect one photon, and it's amazing. Extraordinary.
It's a whole other great show.
Yes. And also, they don't have any brainwave activity, whatever they use, supposedly, to claim that someone is dead. They're clinically dead. They said then they just kept the equipment on, and 10 minutes after this patient died, they found significant brainwave activity, the kind of brainwaves that you have when you're dreaming.
Yeah, when you're in a deep sleep. It's amazing. It's an entirely different phenomenon to the sudden death wave that we observe when, for example, when they decapitate rats, they experiment with.
Yes, and the researchers said that this was nothing like that. This is like brain waves in a patient who's dreaming.
A deep sleep. Wow.
Also,
10
Fred,
minutes after the so-called death.
Yes. Also, it turns out from studies that are referenced in this Science Alert article that there are genes that continue to function in the human body after we're allegedly dead. There are many genes, not just a few genes, but more than 1,000 genes functioning. And some of those genes actually increase their activity. So what the moral of this story is, I believe, here's the point. If doctors have recorded brain activity and this significant activity a full 10 minutes after declaring a patient dead, and that's after determining all those factors we mentioned, they should have far more humility and not declare people dead when they're not.
Yeah.
Don't declare them brain dead when their body is functioning. Brain dead means not dead. The medical community as a whole has no humility before God, and that's way dangerous for them and for us.
And for us.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just horrific.
It is. So, Bob, the next one is from The Sun, as we mentioned earlier, and it's scientists set to trial new stem cell therapy to reawaken the brain after death.
Okay, so we'll report the story, and then we'll look for the moral of the story. But, Fred, something smells in this news heading, and it's not a decomposing corpse either. It's not that kind of smell. If the scientists are going to attempt to reawaken the brain after death, I'm suspicious.
What is that? Yeah, I'm very suspicious.
Something smells. So we'll see if we could find what it is in this article. A U.S. company will start tests in a Latin American country this year, but they're not saying which country because this could be considered controversial. Mm-hmm. Now, they're not killing someone. They're taking people who are claimed to be dead and trying to revive them. So this isn't your standard concern. This might be more controversial to people who like to declare people dead. They might not like this.
Yeah, yep.
Like the medical community generally.
So they will be attempting to bring people back from the dead using stem cell therapy trials.
Yeah.
And basically the hope to reawaken the brain and, again, bring people back from the dead. And I'm sure this article drew the attention of a lot of, the godless, the liberals and the atheists who want to freeze their bodies and somehow be resurrected. And they never want to their creator, but they'd love to live forever. They're always trying to do whatever they can to live as long as possible.
Some of these billionaires today are searching for the fountain of youth.
And so they probably thought, they can bring us back from the dead, so I'm going to cryogenetically freeze myself, and then they'll bring me back.
Right.
I'm sure that was the thought.
Freezer burned.
Yep. I'm sure that was the thought of a lot of these people.
Yes. This article points out, and Fred, let me say something about this company that's doing this. It's called BioQuark, right? Not quack, not quack,
Quark.
But quark. And quark is a subatomic particle. Quarks are absolutely awesome, by the way. But so it's sort of a neat name for a company, although people might think they're quacks. But it's BioQuark. But this company, they were interviewed by Mail Online last year. That's another British newspaper. And their mission is to focus on clinical research in the state of brain death or irreversible coma. And what they do is, the way they describe it, they are exploring the cutting-edge biomedical technology for human neuroregeneration. Neuroregeneration, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is.
People are paralyzed. There's brain damage, and it is possible using adult stem cells that we might be able to actually have beneficial therapeutic results, not using body parts, harvested body parts from babies who are killed
Yep.
by Planned Parenthood, but adult stem cells. And so this is real science, but this part of it, admittedly, is obviously wild. So, Fred, they want to reboot the brain, they say. And here's my suspicion. If there were nothing there, right, if there are no brain waves,
Yeah.
I think they would think there's nothing there to reboot. I don't think they're going into the cemetery and exhuming bodies and trying to bring them back.
Yeah.
I don't think that. So we'll find out as we go through the story if something smells fishy. Not with what they're doing necessarily, but with what the doctors are doing by declaring these patients dead, the ones that they want to bring back.
Yeah. And reboot by its very nature means the thing isn't dead. It's running. It just needs to be restarted. It's not powered off.
Yes. So this article by The Sun, they also mention that in most countries, to be officially declared dead, they must diagnose complete and irreversible loss of brain function. Fred, irreversible loss, those two examples we just gave, they said they were irreversible. Yep. They're brain dead. That is hubris. It's arrogant. They don't know that brain dead means not dead. That's what it means.
It is. So the CEO and their surgeon initially hoped to carry out tests in India in 2016.
Yeah, last year. The surgeon's name is Himanshu Bansal, but they ran into a roadblock there, Fred.
They did. The Indian Council of Medical Research rejected their proposal.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
Well, if you have a chance of being reincarnated as a cow,
which is what they believe, right?
Who would want to hinder that? Perhaps they should have limited their test subjects to people with bad karma.
Who come back as like a bug or a slug. Or
yeah, right. Then maybe they would have gotten the green light. It's weird, Fred.
Or a cow in the United States that gets eaten.
Right. Yes. In most of the world, Hindus are not all that violent. If you have Hindus for neighbors, you could plan on a quiet summer. But in India, there is a new trend, and that's for them to beat to death Muslims who eat beef. It's the weirdest thing in the world.
Wow.
So Muslims will kill other Muslims for eating pork, and the Hindus are now killing Muslims for eating beef. Maybe McDonald's should add to their sign, billions and billions served with no beheadings.
No beheadings.
None whatsoever. So after they inject these patients who've been declared brain dead with stem cells, their own body's stem cells, then they say they're going to use laser and median nerve stimulation for a couple weeks as they monitor the patient with MRI scans. Okay, interesting, right? Well, this is where, Fred, I think we have a Freudian slip from the medical community.
So the scientists plan to examine individuals as young as 15.
Wow.
And they intend to use MRI scans to look for possible signs of brain death reversal before carrying out the trial.
Aha.
Yes.
Okay.
A big aha moment.
Yeah, we said it smelled. Well, first of all, they've got people as young as 15 who have been declared brain dead, they say in this article, up to 65. And then they're using MRI scans. What does this mean? To look for possible signs of brain death reversal.
Before carrying out the trial.
Before the trial. So here's somebody who's brain dead. They're going to MRI. If you go to the butcher shop, and what would you buy at a butcher shop? 2-pound pot roast. Yeah. And you put it in an MRI. What kind of brain waves are you going to get out of it? You're going to get no brain waves out of it. What they're saying, this is a Freudian slip from the medical community. They're saying to the public here, sort of unintentionally, that, well, we know we're going to get MRI brain waves from a number of these patients, and we'll look for the ones with the strongest brain waves.
Yeah.
And then we're going to use them as
our that brain dead is not dead.
Yes. And so, Fred, here's their second Freudian slip. What they said to Mail Online last year, They said in many countries around the world within the industry, they use the term living cadaver.
Living cadaver. What is that?
That's an antioxidant moron. I mean,
an oxymoron.
An oxymoron.
Antioxidant moron. I like that better.
Yeah. A living cadaver, right. So those two recent news stories are part of the backdrop for our list of brain-dead patients who've recovered, and now we should continue.
So another important moral of this story is that there's way more going on in the minds of so-called brain-dead patients than the medical community lets on.
Yeah. So brain-dead means not dead.
Not dead. So this next one's from January 2015. George Pickering, a 27-year-old Texan, was pronounced brain dead by doctors at Tomball Regional Medical Center when his father threatened to shoot himself if anyone disconnected his son from life support.
Whoa. That father, that's not recommended, right?
Yeah, it's not.
That's like a Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
But during the standoff with police, the son repeatedly squeezed his father's hand, which, we've seen the doctors who would say, that's a lie, that's not true. You got video of these patients responding to auditory commands and the family's testimony, and they say it's all lies.
Yeah.
So that's what they would say. And the media, that's what the media would say about this also. But then he woke up later that evening, and 27-year-old George has made a strong recovery.
Yeah, and not only that, he converted to Christianity.
He became a Christian. Isn't that awesome? And Fred, I'd like to mention that this list, now like with a number of our lists, there will be reports in other media outlets, and they will give 2, 3, 4 examples, 5, 6 of some kind of a phenomenon. And we'll take that and run with it, and then we'll make it our own Real Science Radio list. And so we link to and give credit to lifesitenews.com because they're the first ones who began a list like this. But then this list has grown, and we pledge to continue to update it. So people in the audience, if you see a case that's not on our list, please email it to bob@rsr.org.
Yeah, and hopefully this list will come to an end when doctors in the science community realizes brain dead is not dead and stop using that term.
Yes.
So the next one is from March 2014. A Mississippi man wasn't pronounced brain dead, but dead. I mean,
dead.
Double dead.
Dead.
Mega dead.
Just dead.
And he was zippered into a sack.
No.
Shipped to the morgue.
Fred,
Fred,
you're making this all up.
I'm not, man. This is all true. And then guess what? He freaked out the workers by kicking his way out of the body bag. Can you imagine that? Hey, what's going on here? Hey, who put the guy in the bag?
Fred,
And they were just about ready to embalm him.
Now, this is a Reuters news story. We're not making this stuff up. You don't have to make this stuff up.
Yep.
For him to be on his way to the morgue inside of a body bag and freak out the morgue workers. What more of a perfect example do you need? And all of these are perfect examples.
Well, how many nurses and, the coroner, all these people thought that this guy was dead?
They were ready to embalm him. Yeah, if all these people could get death so very wrong, we would hope that the medical industry could have more humility. And again, humility before God regarding patients who are noticeably breathing.
Yeah.
All the brain dead people, they're all breathing.
Yeah.
They're breathing.
So, Bob, this is off the list, but do you remember that interview you had a couple years ago with the Dr. Paul Byrne, and you discussed this Jehi McMath. It's a famous case of this Oakland teenager who was declared brain dead.
Yeah.
And, 2 years later, there's still a lot of...
Yeah, this young girl, what a tragic story. I'm so thrilled that her family and this Dr. Paul Byrne, that they're fighting for her. So, Fred, you're right. That was in 2014, the interview. And he is fully qualified. He's a board-certified neonatologist and pediatrician. In fact, he was the founder of the NICU at their children's medical center there in St. Louis.
Yeah, so NICU, what is that?
NICU, the ICU for children, neonatal intensive care unit, the NICU. And he's also the clinical professor of pediatrics at the University of Toledo, so he's no slouch.
And he agrees with us that this girl is not brain dead.
Yeah, in fact, he agrees with our perspective. Not only does he agree with all these accounts that they're obvious that brain dead means not dead, but he also pointed out, Fred, something fascinating, that if there is a patient on a respirator, and so they're pumping air into their lungs, and they're respirating, they're breathing, he said a dead person cannot respirate. So if you go to the morgue or you go to the cemetery
and you push a bunch of air into their body,
into their windpipe, their trachea,
yeah, they're not going to revive.
Not only that, their body won't respirate. It's not going to exhale. You could sort of force air into the lungs, but the body won't respirate.
Doesn't
the cells
respond to it.
Yeah, the cells are not going to absorb the oxygen that you're forcing into a corpse. A dead body doesn't respirate. And so that's more evidence for what is obvious, that brain dead means not dead. So that was back in 2014. Fred, I have an article here that the Washington Post did an update on her case in 2016. And there are photos of this girl on sfgate.com. That's San Francisco Gate. And they show her and the family saying, Jahai is as healthy and beautiful as ever, proving the naysayers wrong. She's a fighter, a warrior.
Yeah, remember that guy who woke up from a coma? And he knew a lot of stuff that was going on through that whole time.
Yes.
So we can't assume either that she doesn't know and sense everybody there and know what's happening.
Right. Now, this little girl was declared legally dead back in 2013. She went into the hospital for routine surgery, and she ended up like this.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's sad to think, but when something like this happens, it seems that the best outcome then for the hospital and their lawyers is for the patient to die.
Yeah. And
so
that's what they encourage.
They declare him brain dead, but Jahai, her heart continued to beat, and the family protested in court that the hospital wanted to remove their daughter's ventilator. And this reminds me of the late-term abortionist up in Boulder, Warren Hearn. Fred, do you remember the transcript years ago in the 90s? I interviewed him. And he said on the radio show, he said that I believe these are personal family decisions. The government should have nothing to say about it.
Wow,
He's a
what
child
hypocrisy.
killer. He kills 6-month-old babies. He charges $18,000, $23,000 to kill a baby. And we know because an employee at Blue Cross and Blue Shield sent us an itemized bill that they paid for a 5-month-old baby that was killed by Warren Hearn up in Boulder, Colorado. Anyway, on my show, he said the government should stay out of it. And just that week in the news, there was a case where a woman in Kansas, we have this all documented on our website. She was on life support, and her husband was fighting to keep her on life support, and the doctors, 2 doctors, went to court to remove her. And I asked Warren Hearn, where do you come down on that case? And he said, I side with the doctors.
Oh, of course.
Of course, right? Because that means killing somebody. And so I said to him, I thought you said these were personal, private, family decisions.
So much for that.
And the government should stay out of it. And he said, yeah. And so it seems, Warren Hearn, that you side with anyone who will kill someone. That's who you side with. You don't care if it's the family, the mother, the government. You side with death because you're an abortionist. Do you know the Denver Catholic Register, a couple 100,000 subscriptions in Colorado? They published the transcript of that interview.
Well, this story is really interesting. It's about, just dead. Three different doctors said this guy's dead.
Dead
not brain
doesn't
dead.
even always mean dead.
Yeah.
Brain dead, people who've recovered, and so often they say, well, he's just dead, and they're not dead. I mean, it happens.
Oh, it's scary, some of the stories you hear. People who can hear the doctors talking about them
taking their eyes, harvesting their organs. So this guy, his name is Gonzalo Jimenez. Fred, like you said, 3 doctors declared him dead. So after you're dead, what do? They send you to the morgue.
They do. And this guy was on the autopsy table getting ready to be cut into.
And then, I mean, thank you, Lord, the way God made us. Then he started snoring.
Yeah. I wonder if the doctor thought that was like a new ringtone on his cell phone or something. You know,
Yeah.
Where's this coming from?
Yeah, this is a pathologist who's about ready to start. He's preparing to cut into this guy, and he hears him snoring. He's on the autopsy table, and they're ready to start cutting him open, and he's snoring.
He's snoring, and then he wakes up and he asks, hey, where's my wife? He wants to see his wife.
Where's my wife? And, you know, probably the most ruthless organ harvester out there would take that as a sign of life.
Yeah.
Even the most ruthless among them will say, well, he's
he probably is alive. The snoring was kind of a clue.
We could use his liver.
This confirms it.
His kidneys, his lungs are very valuable, his eyes.
Yeah.
But maybe he's alive. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Where's his wife?
Jeez, how close that guy came to being cut into while he's alive.
Yeah. And so on our website, rsr.org/braindead, brain-dead, you can find the whole list. And one of the big problems is that the medical community does not respect the sanctity of life. They don't honor God's enduring command, do not kill the innocent. They are overwhelmingly pro-child killing, that is, pro-abortion. Mm-hmm. They are increasingly pro-euthanasia, pro-suicide, and this is all tragic. It's not only sin, it's also criminal. And on Judgment Day, they will stand before Jesus Christ, and they will be punished for this.
Have to be held accountable
for
that.
All those who are not forgiven by him by trusting in his death and resurrection.
That's right.
Fred, we've come to the end of the program, but I think it would merit broadcast airtime to continue with this list.
Yeah, I agree. There's quite a few more to go through. It's super interesting and, as we've said, super important that there's a huge moral message in this.
Yes. Brain dead means not dead, so don't trust that diagnosis. Mm-hmm. And if you'd like to, share a link to our website, rsr.org/braindead. So, okay, then you're up for that? Part
Absolutely.
2?
Yep.
Okay, and I am also.
I think it's a very important topic.
All right, thank you.
Both interesting and super important and super relevant.
Yes. So this is Bob Enyart and Fred Williams for Real Science Radio. May God bless you.
Intelligent design and DNA. Scholars can't explain it all away. Get ready to be awed by the handiwork of God. Tune into Real Science Radio. Turn up the Real Science Radio. Keeping it real. That's what I'm talking about.